Good morning, spiritual companions. We are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, continuing chapter 4, The Master and Kashab, on page 195. Ramakrishna continues his talk. It is all a question of the mind. Bondage and liberation are of the mind alone. The mind will take the color you dye it with. It is like white clothes just returned from the laundry. If you dip them in red dye, they will be red. If you dip them in blue or green, they will be blue or green. They will take only the color you dip them in, whatever it may be. Haven't you noticed that? If you read a little English, you at once begin to utter English words. Then you put on boots and whistle a tune and so on. It all goes together. Or if a scholar studies Sanskrit, he will at once rattle off Sanskrit verses. If you are in bad company, then you will talk and think like your bad companions. On the other hand, when you are in the company of devotees, you will think and talk only of God. The mind is everything. A man has his wife on one side and his daughter on the other. He shows his affection to them in different ways, but his mind is one and the same. Bondage is of the mind, and freedom is also of the mind. A man is free if he constantly thinks, I am a free soul. How can I be bound, whether I live in the world or in the forest? I am a child of God, the King of Kings. Who can bind me? If bitten by a snake, a man may get rid of its venom by saying emphatically, there is no poison in me. In the same way, by repeating with grit and determination, I am not bound, I am free, one really becomes so. One really becomes free. Once someone gave me a book of the Christians. I asked him to read it to me. It talked about nothing but sin. To Kashab. Sin is the one thing people hear of at your Brahmo Samaj too. The wretch who constantly says, I am bound, only succeeds in being bound. He who says day and night, I am a sinner, verily becomes a sinner. One must have such burning faith in God that one can say, what? I have repeated God's name, and can sin still cling to me? How can I be a sinner anymore? How can I be in bondage anymore? If a man repeats God's name, his body, mind, and everything become pure. Why should one talk only about sin and hell and such things? Say but once, O Lord, I have undoubtedly done wicked things, but I won't repeat them, and have faith in his name. To my Divine Mother I prayed only for pure love. I offered flowers at her lotus feet and prayed, Mother, here is thy virtue, here is thy vice. Take them both and grant me only pure love for thee. Here is thy knowledge, here is thy ignorance. Take them both and grant me only pure love for thee. Here is thy purity, here is thy impurity. Take them both, Mother, and grant me only pure love for thee. Here is thy dharma, here is thy adharma. Take them both, Mother, and grant me only pure love for thee. Why shouldn't one be able to realize God in this world? But if one lives in the world, one must go into solitude now and then. It will be of great help to a man if he goes away from his family, lives alone, and weeps for God even for 3 days. Even if he thinks of God for 1 day in solitude, when he has the leisure, that too will do him good. The disease of worldliness is like typhoid, and there are a huge jug of water and a jar of savory pickles in the typhoid patient's room. If you want to cure him of his illness, you must remove him from that room. The worldly man is like a typhoid patient. The various objects of enjoyment are the huge jug of water, and the craving for their enjoyment is his thirst. The very thought of pickles makes the mouth water. You don't have to bring them near, and he is surrounded with them. The companionship of a woman is the pickles. Hence, treatment in solitude is necessary. One may enter the world after attaining discrimination and dispassion. Gradually the ebb tide set in. The steamboat was speeding toward Calcutta. It passed under the Howrath Bridge and came within sight of the Botanical Garden. The captain was asked to go a little farther down the river. The passengers were enchanted with the master's words, and most of them had no idea of time or of how far they had come. Keshab began to serve some puffed rice and grated coconut. The guest held these in the folds of their wearing cloths and presently started to eat. Everyone was joyful. The master noticed, however, that Keshab and Vijay rather shrank from each other. He was anxious to reconcile them. Master to Keshab: "Look here, there is Vijay. Your quarrel seems like the fight between Shiva and Rama. Shiva was Rama's guru. Though they fought with each other, yet they soon came to terms. But the grimaces of the ghosts, the followers of Shiva, and the gibberish of the monkeys, the followers of Rama, would not come to an end. Loud laughter. Such quarrels take place even among one's own kith and kin." Ramanuja upheld the doctrine of qualified non-dualism, but his guru was a pure non-dualist. They disagreed with each other and refuted each other's arguments. That always happens. Still, to the teacher, the disciple is his own. All rejoiced in the master's company and his words. Master to Keshab: "You don't look into people's natures before you make them your disciples, and so they break away from you. All men look alike, to be sure, but they have different natures. Some have an excess of sattva, others an excess of rajas, and still others an excess of tamas. You must have noticed that the pastries known as puli all look alike, but their contents are very different. Some have condensed milk inside, some coconut kernel, and others mere boiled lentil paste. All laugh. Do you know my attitude? As for myself, I eat, drink, and live happily. The rest the Divine Mother knows. Indeed, there are 3 words that prick my flesh: Guru, Master, and Father. There is only one Guru, and that is Satchitananda. He alone is the teacher. My attitude towards God is that of a child towards its mother. One can get human gurus by the million. All want to be teachers, but who cares to be a disciple? It is extremely difficult to teach others. A man can teach only if God reveals himself to him and gives the command. Unless you have a command from God, who will listen to your words? Don't you know how easily the people of Calcutta get excited? The milk in the pot puffs up and boils, as long as the fire burns underneath. Take away the fuel, and everything is quiet. The people of Calcutta love sensations. You may see them digging a well at a certain place. They say they want water, but if they strike a stone, they give up that place, and they begin at another place. And there, perchance, they find sand. They give up the second place too. Next, they begin at a third, and so it goes. But it won't do if a man only imagines he has God's command. God does reveal himself to a man, and he does speak. Only then does one receive his command. How forceful are the words of such a teacher! They can move mountains, but mere lectures? People will listen to them for a few days and then forget them. They will never act upon mere words. At Karmarpurkur there is a small lake called Haldarpurkur. Certain people used to befoul its banks. Others who came there to bathe would abuse the offenders loudly, but the next morning they would find the same thing. The nuisance didn't stop. All laugh. The villagers finally informed the authorities about it. A constable was sent, who put up a notice there which read, "Commit no nuisance." This stopped the miscreants at once. All laugh. To teach others, one must have a badge of authority. Otherwise, teaching becomes a mockery. A man who is himself ignorant starts out to teach others, like the blind leading the blind. Instead of doing good, such teaching does harm. After realizing God, one obtains an inner vision. Only then can one diagnose a person's spiritual malady and give instruction. Without the commission from God, a man becomes vain. He says to himself, "I am teaching people." This vanity comes from ignorance, for only an ignorant person feels that he is the doer. A man verily becomes liberated in life if he feels God is the doer. He alone is doing everything. I am doing nothing. Man's suffering and worries spring only from his persistent thought that he is the doer. You people speak of doing good to the world. Is the world such a small thing? And who are you, pray, to do good to the world? First realize God. See him by means of spiritual discipline. If he imparts power, then you can do good to others. Otherwise not. A Brahmo devotee. Then, sir, must we give up our activities until we realize God? Master, no, why should you? You must engage in such activities as contemplation, singing his praises, and other daily devotions. Brahmo. But what about our worldly duties? Duties associated with earning money and so on. Master. Yes, you may perform them too, but only as much as you need for your livelihood. At the same time, you must pray to God in solitude, with tears in your eyes, that you may be able to perform those duties in an unselfish manner. You should say to him, "O God, make my worldly duties fewer and fewer. Otherwise, O Lord, I find that I forget thee when I am involved in too many activities. I may think I am doing unselfish work, but it turns out to be selfish. People who carry to excess the giving of alms or the distribution of food among the poor fall victims to the desiring of acquiring name and fame. Sambhu Malik. once talked about establishing hospitals, dispensaries, and schools, making roads, digging public reservoirs, and so forth. I said to him, "Don't go out of your way to look for such works. Undertake only those works that present themselves to you and are of pressing necessity, and perform them in a spirit of detachment. It is not good to become involved in many activities. That makes one forget God. Coming to the Kaligat temple, some perhaps spend their whole time in giving alms to the poor. They have no time to see the mother in the inner shrine." Laughter. First of all, manage somehow to see the image of the Divine Mother, even by pushing through the crowd. Then you may or may not give alms, as you wish. You may give to the poor to your heart's content, if you feel that way. Work is only a means to the realization of God. A lover of God says, "O Lord, give me a place at thy lotus feet. Keep me always in thy company. Give me sincere and pure love for thee." Karma Yoga is very hard indeed. In the Kali Yuga, it is extremely difficult to perform the rites enjoined in the scriptures. Nowadays, a man's life is centered on food alone. He has no time to perform many scriptural rites. Suppose a man is laid up with fever. If you attempt a slow cure with the old-fashioned indigenous remedies, before long, his life may be snuffed out. He can't stand much delay. Nowadays, the drastic D-Gupta mixture is appropriate. Footnote on D-Gupta: a patent fever medicine containing a strong dose of quinine. Back to the text. In the Kali Yuga, the best way is Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, singing the praises of the Lord and prayer. The path of devotion alone is the religion for this age. To the Brahmo devotees, yours also is the path of devotion. Blessed are you indeed that you chant Hari's name and sing the Divine Mother's glories. I like your attitude. You don't call the world a dream, like the non-dualists. You are not Brahmañanis like them. You are bhaktas, lovers of God. That you speak of him as a person is also good. You are devotees. You will certainly realize him if you call on him with sincerity and earnestness. The boat cast anchor at Kalayagat, and the passengers prepared to disembark. On coming outside, they noticed that the full moon was up. The trees, the buildings, and the boats on the Ganges were bathed in its white light. A carriage was hailed for the master, and M and a few devotees got in with him. The master asked for Keshab. Presently the latter arrived and inquired about the arrangements made for the master's return to Dakshineswar. Then he bowed low and took leave of Sri Ramakrishna. The carriage drove through the European quarter of the city. The master enjoyed the sight of the beautiful mansions on both sides of the well-lighted streets. Suddenly he said, "I am thirsty. What is to be done?" Nandalal, Keshab's nephew, stopped the carriage before the India Club and went upstairs to get some water. The master inquired if the glass had been washed well. On being assured that it had been, he drank the water. As the carriage went along, the master put his head out of the window and looked with childlike enjoyment at the people, the vehicles, the horses, and the streets, all flooded with moonlight. Now and then he heard European ladies singing at the piano. He was in a very happy mood. End of that day. End of this reading. Peace.